Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to episode 11 of In the Red Corner. Today marks 100 days of lockdown for Melbourne, but it could well be the last weekend we're stuck inside, and what a weekend it is to be stuck inside. We've got AFL prelims, Premier League's back, UFC Fight Island, and Lomachenko versus Lopez on Sunday. And to dissect that all with me, I've got Mr. Grant Winstanley. How are we, sir?
Great, mate. What a weekend we've got in store. What a weekend. So no complaints from this side. No complaints at all.
Well, I know we were just saying we've all had it a bit rough over the last couple of months, the lockdowns and stuff. But poor Harry Maguire, I think he's had it rougher than most. He got sent to jail in Greece. He's had a rough start to the season, and he culminated it all with a nice sending off midweek for England. What's to be done with him? What's to be done with Harry Maguire?
Yeah, it's a tough question, mate. It's you do feel sorry for him in a way, and I think midweek obviously Southgate has come out and backed him and said he'll get through these moments, and you kind of always feel as though you find who people are in these situations and whether they can sort of stand up to it. And he's a human being at the end of the day, and clearly from everything that went on in pre-season, it's affected him. It really has affected him, and the obvious answer is, Ollie should take him out of the team.
Yeah,
he seems mentally and physically spent to me. But in my opinion, I think he's been mismanaged for quite a while.
right.
Because for one, I don't think he should have ever been the captain of Man United in the first place, after only ever just coming into the club in terms of that added pressure. He's played every game for United in every competition. He never has a rest. So he's played all last season playing Carabao Cup, got to 3 semi-finals last year. And he plays every game for England as well. And for me, if it's about, he wants to get back in. It's one of those things where you can only get better by performing back on the pitch. So from all I know from a sports start, what as a fan watching sports athletes and those at the highest level, every setback they have, the majority of them want to get back in there and want to avenge the loss or want to be better, to be more confident, and that's where it's kind of it's at that tipping point really, because if he's on the beach and he goes, he has a couple of weeks off, sooner or later he has to be back on the pitch. Yeah. He has to face it, and it's his job, and he has to do it. Now, the problem for Maguire, I believe, is that he's walking back into a dressing room with no leaders to help him. There's no one who can put their arm around him. It's a dressing room low on confidence at the moment, so they kind of need Maguire in that sense. And I think if Harry wants to play, then you let him play. But I think Ollie needs to have a sit-down chat with him. And, in my opinion, United getting 3 points against Brighton, which obviously has been talked about for other things, that came from Maguire because it was his shot that they got the equaliser. The goal, the last gasp at was his header off the hand. Yeah. So he's done those positive things and managed to kind of get us the victory, but it's not really been talked about. So, and the cynics out there will say, you can't rest him because look what happened the last time he went on holiday. It's like, yeah, I know. But so my advice to Ollie is you need to sit him down, have that honest conversation with him, almost like a father figure in a say, and say, what is going on? How can I help and get you out of this rut? And if he wants to play, I would say change. Let him play, but change to a system that gets the best out of Harry Maguire. And, my preview for the Newcastle game is I would say what gets the best out of Harry Maguire, 3-5-2, like England do, 3 centre-backs to help him with the defensive part of it. And, I would say change the players that are in around him as well, that aren't up to scratch. And I'm not going to name any names, but De Gea, Shaw, Lindelof, Pogba, if they're not performing, you've got to get him out, and that will help. That will help Maguire. And Ollie, in my opinion, needs to make big changes for the Newcastle game. He needs that system change. The players aren't playing to the same level of what they were after restart. And isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing with a 4-3-3. So the next 7 games are critical for Maguire, for Man United, and for Ollie in particular. If he doesn't do big changes and we don't get the win for Newcastle, we've got 7 tough games, and we might see the back of him come November.
Yeah, it is. This weekend kind of marks the start of a really tough run for United. Yeah. I know you sent me the pictures in the week, and even I was looking at that thinking, oh my God, like you look down to the start of November almost, and you've got the Everton game, and you really have to question whether Solskjaer will still be in a job if he doesn't turn things around fairly quickly.
Yeah,
it doesn't. I mean, any of the top sides now, any of those Champions League sides are now going to have to contend with 2 games a week for the net until Christmas almost, and they include European aways, and you're going to have to balance that rotation through the side. You're going to have to change your systems for
international again.
And we got another international.
I know.
It's a mad period, and we're going to see some mad results, but that's no good if you're only going to Solskjaer or United. You need to turn this around quickly. And I think it makes this weekend's game the most important game they've had yet. And it's obviously a bit of a cliche, the next game's the most important game. But this is really important because it's about to kickstart what's a really tough period.
Yeah.
Is it time for the diamond yet? You're talking about the system changes.
I know, I've been saying, well, if it means, I would say the diamond. I would personally like to see that like I say, the 5-3-2, because we've got Telles, who's an upgrade on Shaw. He's the flying left wing back. Get the best out of him. You get an extra centre back in there for Maguire. You can still have your 3 centre mids and your Matic, Pogba, Bruno, or your Donny van der Beek for Pogba, I would say. And then you've got your 2 strikers. So I think it just means more onus on Wan-Bissaka and Telles to get up and down, but they can do that. So, and I'd swap the goalkeeper. I'd give Henderson a go. We've conceded 11 in 3 games. It's your turn. Give it a go. So I really want to see some big calls from Solskjaer. Otherwise, people are just going to look at it and go, you're not up to it. You're not up to make the big decisions.
No, I think you're right. I think like you say with Solskjaer now, he's got almost, live by the sword, die by the sword. He's got he's done the same, and he's stuck with his system for a while. It's not working. I don't think it's going to do him any harm to change it up a bit now, whether it works or not. I think doing nothing is probably the worst thing you could do at this point.
Of course. So, and we're talking about bouncing back, and the next game's most important. Matt, tell me about Liverpool. Obviously, Everton are next. How are you feeling?
I'm looking forward to the game, actually. I think it'll be a great game. We've actually been used to the last couple of Goodison derbies have been 0-0. I think it's 3 on the bounce.
Right.
They usually keep it tight there. They've obviously had the pressure from the crowd, don't get beat by Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think this game, having no crowd there, and Everton, you can't take it away from them, are playing really well, look really great. I think they are going to be more inclined to bring the game to Liverpool, which could well play into our hands, if we're able to regroup. I said last week after the 7-2 defeat to Villa, I would really have just liked to turn it around really quick. And, we've had that international break now, which probably won't have done us any favours. The squad will have had to go away and sit with that. Lads like Joe Gomez have had to sit with that result for a little while now. But the majority of them have been back in training for a couple of days now, apart from the England lads are probably only just getting back in. But I think we'll see a few changes in the side as well. I think the positives are that we're more than likely going to have Henderson back. We're more than likely going to have Thiago starting. There's questions across the pitch as well. We mentioned it last week where some of the players, similar to Maguire, were looking a little bit shaken, a bit tired, out of sorts. You've got Firmino. He's been struggling. There's a question there as, do you take him out of the team for a little bit? Now, he played really well for Brazil on the international break. But there's a Jota question there as well. With Mane being fit, do you took Jota there instead of Firmino? And there's also a Joe Gomez question as well. He had a tough game there. He's not quite firing on all cylinders. He has been away, played for England. He's not trained with the side. Joel Matip has. He's been at Melwood all week, and I wonder if there's a move there to put Joel Matip back in. For no other reason than he's a bit more effective on set pieces and the ball's coming to the box. He's taller. He's more likely to get his head on a few crosses. And so I wonder if there's a change there. It might not do Gomez's confidence any good. but it's a pragmatic change, I think.
What about a Fabinho? A Fabinho drops back, and now that you've got Henderson and Thiago in there, it's kind of, because he seems to have done well, hasn't he?
Yeah,
At the back?
I mean, it's an option.
Yeah.
I think he would go with Matip over Fabinho if he's fit.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that we might even see Fabinho start as well as Henderson. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what midfield he'll go for. It'll be interesting to see how he does that.
Yeah.
But
To be fair, Alan and Decore are quite physical, very strong up and down the pitch. So you're probably right. It probably needs Henderson and Fabinho in there.
Possibly. I think we're going to want to get control of the game. That's what we didn't do against Villa. I think that's what Klopp will want to see is us controlling the tempo of this game. It could well do Everton a favour having no crowd there. You know that there isn't that pressure. There isn't the Everton fans getting on the back, which will allow them a little bit more freedom. I think they'll have a go at us. They've no reason not to have a go at us. I think they've shown that they're an impressive attacking unit. Calvert-Lewin looks incredible at the start of the season. And he's going to be dangerous. And Liverpool have just conceded 7. He's going to fancy his chances of bagging, So yeah, there's a question there about how we change the side to shore it up, but also to have a go. We're going to want to go and win this game.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it will go, and I didn't get a prediction for you for the United result, but I think there'll be goals in this game. If I was putting my money anywhere, I think there'll probably be a score draw. You might be looking at like a 2-2. But it really depends how quickly we can bounce back. And
I think you'll win. Yeah, I think you'll win.
You think we'll win?
I think you'll win. I've always been. I know Everton are a lot better on the face of it now, but I've always been very critical of Everton. They always crumble in this fixture, kind of mentally. And I just think you've had the number, and Klopp's not the type of manager to sit back now after a 7-2 and go, things will cross your fingers and things will be all right. They would have worked something out. He would have been drilling them hard. And I think this is probably a bad time for Everton to play you, because I think I'm anticipating a response and you'll come out the traps.
I hope you're right, and the difference could well be, that bit of extra class that comes into our side. The likes of Henderson, the likes of Thiago, Mane's back. We know Salah was in form, even against Villa where we weren't playing very well. Salah, we still got 2 goals.
Yeah.
So that class, if we come out firing on all cylinders with something to prove, I think you'll be right. Maybe I'm just being a bit pessimistic. I don't know, but I hope you're right anyway.
Very nice. Anything else catch your eye in the Premier League this week?
We also got the City and Arsenal this weekend.
Yeah.
That's it. Again, it's another fixture where they're both out to prove a point. I think still at this point, Arsenal looked good at the start of the season, but they've, aside from Liverpool where they got beaten and outplayed, they've not really played anyone yet. I think they've played Fulham, West Ham. Who else did they play last week?
I can't remember who they played actually.
Mine's gone blank. Fulham, West Ham, and Sheffield United. They played Sheffield United. So they've not been really tested aside from Liverpool where they came up short. But I do think that Arteta is going to, he's going to want to go out there and show that he can outclass Guardiola. City, on the other hand, again, not a great start to the season. The pressure's on them a little bit already, similar to United. Not quite in the same vein, I don't think, but the pressure is on them, and they're a little bit light up front. I don't think Jesus or Aguero are back fit yet. There's questions about Kevin De Bruyne as well.
And Sterling.
Is Sterling out?
They reckon there's a bit of a Sterling doubt as well, but who knows?
Play up front, Delap.
I know. Might have to get Rory Delap on and throw it to him. Who knows? Maybe, I don't know, but chances are, you know what the media is like, and the whole mind games. They'll the team sheet will come out on Sunday, and it's Aguero, Jesus, De Bruyne, and Sterling. So
suddenly they're all fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was Aubameyang as well. Was for Arsenal was a doubt.
Right.
But you don't quite know. You don't know how much it's mind games, and then coming back from international fixtures, and they've got a little knock, but they're actually going to be fine.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll see Partey as well for Arsenal. I believe the squad, he's fit. He'll make a difference in their defence, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but he's very much that disciplined defensive midfielder. He's dynamic, he's strong, well disciplined, that Arsenal have always lacked. And I think what a great game to throw him into against Man City, just to show To sit in front of that back four and show it up. And for me, Partey is a fantastic signing on deadline day. I was saying it last week, and don't forget, he's been in the Simeone, he's been in the Diego Simeone school of we'll kick you up and down for 90 minutes. So he's graduated from there. So he's I think he could make a difference. I still think City will win, but I think there'll be at least 3 or 4 goals in it. I think we'll see. A few goals for sure.
I hope so. Okay. The other fixture I'd noted, I know you had a different one, but I thought the Leeds Wolves game will be an interesting fixture. I imagine that's going to be a bit of a goal fest as well. We know what Leeds are capable of now. They're going to be a bit gung ho, and they look good going forward. I think they'll see this as a game that they can win. They can see it as a bit of a scalp. Wolves did well last season. Been a bit up and down so far. The result against West Ham was a bit of a surprise. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
I think Leeds will look at that and think we can get 3 points here.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, Wolves have got something to prove. A lot of the lads have been away on international duty though as well, so it's how well they can.
And COVID. If Ronaldo's COVID has passed around the squad, then there'll only be Connor Cody. There's only going to be Connor Cody playing against Leeds.
Yeah. I'm surprised actually to this point. We're Friday evening here, Australia. It's Friday morning in the UK. I'm surprised we haven't heard more positive COVID tests from these players coming back from Europe. Whether they'll all start coming out and about today, I don't know. But I find it hard to believe that nobody's come back from these international fixtures with COVID. So I guess we'll see. But I'm looking forward to that fixture. I'd like to see again. I just think it's going to be a good game. Was there any others that you picked out?
Yeah, I think Leicester and Aston Villa will be a cracking game. I think everyone as a neutral, certainly any neutral fans this year have noticed a lot of attacking intent from both teams, scoring a lot of goals, the third and second in the table. I don't think many would have said that, a couple of weeks in. Some good players, a lot of flair with your Harvey Barneses, your Jack Grealishes, Ross Barkley's been added in, Vardy doesn't stop scoring. So I think it's going to be, again, quite a lot of goals in this one. I think they'll probably cancel each other out and go for a score draw, but I think that'll be a cracker as well.
Yeah, no, good stuff. I feel like I'm saying this for everyone, but I think Villa have also got something to prove there. They'll want to go out and show that the 7-2 Liverpool wasn't a fluke. They'll want to show that they have regrouped this season. They've bought really well, and they'll want to see. They've shown that they can kick on. And Leicester, I think they started really positively, but again, you've got to keep it up, and they've got to capitalize on the big sides dropping points. So it's all good play for really.
Yeah, and with us mentioning the Premier League, I don't think we can not mention this certain thing, but it's also been announced this week that the Premier League will be doing a pay-per-view service, £15 to watch one game, each game of football. Matt, I kind of think I know what you will say about this, but what do you make of it?
It's absolutely mad. I get all the Premier League games and all the internationals and the Champions League games included in my phone service, and that's in Australia. So how they can justify charging people £15 a game for what is kind of deemed as not the top games because they're still on Sky or whatever it is. I think they've missed the mark with it a little bit. I think that price point is absolutely mad. It's interesting, isn't it? Because you when you think of pay-per-view, for me, I think back to fight sports. I think that's what I do when I want to watch the boxing or when I want to watch the big UFC events when they do the pay-per-view events. And part of that is the experience of having your mates round. It's part of, you've been on a night out and you come back and you'll all chip in and watch the pay-per-view events. At the minute, if they're trying to create a product for the times, no one's going out and about the minute. You can't really have your mates round if you're in whatever tier you're in the UK. Yeah. I just think they missed the mark with it really, and especially the games that they're earmarking for it, which might be the lower down games or the games of not as much interest on a national scale. They're obviously the niche games. You're only hoping that the fans of those teams are going to tune in because no neutrals are going to pay for it, are they? No. I think if they have consulted people over this, they've they've consulted the wrong people, and I just think it's naive and it's not going to work. What did you make of it?
Ridiculous decision. What a way. I kind of look across the world of what's happening at the moment, with across businesses, across everything that's happening with people and families, and the Premier League. What a way to treat your existing customers at a time when businesses are looking for that loyalty. And remember us, keep doing what you can, and where people are fighting and clawing for every dollar.
Yeah.
But how about players and agents? What about you take a pay cut first if there's a bit of loose change that's needed for the Premier League? And and they tried this early in the 2000s. If you remember Prem Plus, they rolled that out, which wasn't a success. That only didn't last long, and this will be the same. We won't see. I don't think this will go past the season. If they had any brains in the first place, the Premier League, they should have had an opt-out option on the existing Sky package. So this is how I would have done it. If you're going to charge people extra, right, you can do it, but it's an opt-in and an opt-out thing. The opt-out is if you're happy with the 4 games you get on your existing Sky package, because you play Sky Sports, the 2, 3, 4 games that you get, that's fine, no problem. However, the alternative is if you want the rest of all the games, Sky and BT will be divvying them up, splitting them up, all those 3 o'clock games. So if you actually want those extras, then they will come to some sort of agreement, and this will be an unlimited service then. So it's not a one-off game. It's you get the rest of these games that aren't on TV as an unlimited thing. You can watch them anytime, like we do with Optus Sport. And you know what? That charge, it'll probably be an extra $6.99, like a Netflix, a $6.99, £7 on your existing Sky package. But you do get those bonus games. You don't have to, because I know you're paying for Sky and I know you're paying for Sky Sports. But here's what it is. And you know what? If it's like that, I mean, look at your Netflix. Look at how successful Netflix has been from this online unlimited streaming. You don't have to have Netflix. It is a luxury to have. And that is a luxury for some football fans, them that don't want to, and those that do want to, for a neutral, for a team that's never on as often and they want to watch their game, then do it. I just think that's the best way to go, because no doubt clubs have already took season ticket money off fans, probably last year when everything shut down. So the fans aren't getting the value for money. They couldn't attend. So if they've not done something like that, then I simply hope that no single person buys this £15 thing and it falls flat on its face and we don't see it again. Simple.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think out of those, the principal fans will boycott this. I'm sure they will, because it's not on. And there might be a justification for doing it at a lower price point, and maybe they have to come to the table. This might be a high offer, and then it has to be negotiated down when they realize that people aren't going to pay it. Like I said, they missed the mark. I think when you're trying to appeal to the the match going fan, though, and you can't go to the stadiums now.
Yeah,
there's more to being a football fan than just watching the game itself. It's about the day out you're having. It's about the people you're with.
Experience.
About the experience. It's a match day experience of it and everything that goes with that. It's not just about sitting on your couch and watching because you're just a super loyal fan that will pay anything to watch your club.
It is. It's the noise. It's the smell of the pie. It's the noise of the turnstile. It's the guys in the food trucks outside. It's the match day program. It's I think of a young kid. It's, you see how big the stadium is. You see the grass. You see all these real life, you deem superheroes in front of your eyes. That's what it's about. It's not. It's more than just what you put out on the TV and go, so this is what this is.
And for me, it just comes down to it again. Like I said at the very start, I live in Melbourne in Australia, and I can watch all of these games whenever I want for no extra cost than my phone bill is already.
Exactly. And I don't have Optus, so I have to pay for this unlimited service.
Yep.
And it's $15. What does $15 equate to? Probably around
like 25.
Yeah, $15. Yeah, about $15 equates to about £8, something like that.
That's okay.
Yeah. So about £8. So, and I'm happy to pay that to watch the games, because I watch any game, I can watch any replay. Perfect.
Yeah. So do better.
Do better, Premier League. Do better.
All right. I guess moving on from the Premier League. first thing we've got this weekend to contend with is the AFL prelims. We won't dwell too much on it, but the first game is going to kick off in about an hour's time here in Melbourne. We've got Port Adelaide versus Richmond. So this is the prelim finals, which is, I guess, effectively your semi-finals, as you normally call it. And then tomorrow we've got Geelong and... Oh, mine's gone blank. Geelong and Brisbane.
Yes.
I was like, who else is in there? Geelong and Brisbane. Two really close games. Obviously, we've got Richmond in this first game, who unfortunately beat St Kilda last week.
Boo.
Saints are out. I mean, if you touch on that really quick, I was disappointed for Saints, but I was also happy with where we got to this season. The season as a whole, you've got to come away happy. I think we fell short last week. We didn't capitalize on the chances that we had. We were a bit ill-disciplined, and we just let Richmond Richmond run away with it a little bit. We did miss a few players that were out, some of our key ruckmen that were missing. But yeah, fair play to Richmond. But they've got a big ask against Port tonight. Port looked really impressive 2 weekends ago now, would have been against Geelong. How do you see this game going?
Really tough. I think, like you say, both semi-finals are really tough to call. I think it'll be a really tight game, the Port and Adelaide and Richmond game. And I am leaning towards Port Adelaide because I'm respecting the ladder, and I will do on the next fixture in a way. I will respect the ladder, and I'll say, Port Adelaide finished out on top. And I'm going to go with the home advantage as well, given that it's in Adelaide, I think. Yep. So I'm leaning towards Adelaide.
Yeah, they'll have a crowd there as well, won't they?
Yeah, and a crowd. Yeah, so I'll say Adelaide.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I've said it every time we've mentioned the AFL. Like, you never know what can happen in finals, but Port look really impressive. The season as a whole, they finished top of the ladder, but they looked amazing against the Cats last week. And despite Richmond being where they are, they've obviously made it to the prelims. I haven't been impressed with them at any stage of this finals run. They haven't looked like that same dominant, intimidating aura finals side, and I think they'll come up short against Port.
Yeah, sorry, Mitch.
Yeah, sorry, Mitch. The other side of the prelims, we've got Geelong and Brisbane. I think that game's taking place up in Brisbane, I believe. And for me, it's a similar story. I think even though Geelong looked really impressive against Collingwood last weekend, I think that was a lot to do with Collingwood being extremely poor. So I'm not quite sure where to gauge how Geelong going to go. But we do know that Brisbane looked incredible against Richmond. And again, the ladder doesn't lie. They were runners up in the ladder this year. I think they'll have enough to get past Geelong. And I think, it'll set up that kind of fairy tale final this year. Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, well, I think it'll be a very tough game. But although I respect Brisbane, and I'd not say the easy option, but like we said the last game, you look at the ladder and you say, Brisbane will probably get up. I said at the start of the season, Geelong are going to win it. So I've got to be loyal to Geelong and stick with them, because there's a reason I said it at the beginning. So I'm gonna say it'll be a Port Adelaide Geelong final. And I think the fairy tale, I think it's kind of too good to be true. And I think it'd be quite funny if they don't get to that final hurdle. So I'm going to make a prediction, and I'm going to say Geelong, set shot wise, are on this week. They'll get the set shots down on point. And I'm going to say Tomahawk kicks 4, and I'm going to see my boy Danger get 30 plus disposals, and Port and Geelong, I'll say.
Fair enough. Elsewhere this weekend, we don't usually talk about this, but I think it's worth mentioning. There's an amazing boxing match taking place. It's not something we usually talk about. We're sometimes a little bit critical of boxing, aren't we? Because we never get the fights we want to see. And when you're a fan of mixed martial arts and namely the UFC, you can be frustrated with boxing and how the whole system works. We speak about it a lot. But this weekend, it's a bit of a rare occurrence. We're getting to see the number 1 guy in Vasily Lomachenko fight the number 2 guy in Teofimo Lopez. Again, I'm not for a second proclaiming that I know the whole backstory here, but just seeing that it was number 1 and 2 really intrigued me. And, you know, it caught my attention, and I've been kind of digging into it this week. And I'm psyched for it. It's on KO over here, so it's not a pay-per-view. It's on ESPN, so we'll be able to watch it. How are you feeling about it? Are you looking forward to it as well? Because I know you feel the same way as me in terms of the boxing.
Yeah, very, very much so. I would say, if you want to say we're jumping on the bandwagon, yeah, we can do that. Because guess what? You know, I jumped on the bandwagon when it was Wilder Fury, and you know, I would say I'll never proclaim to be a huge boxing fan, but you know what? When there's a fight that piques my interest, I'm going to watch it. You know, but for me, like you say, Lomachenko, best boxer on the planet. You know, 32 years of age, 14 wins, 1 loss, 10 knockouts. He's got 2 gold medals, I think. He's held the belt. He's held about 5 belts. I think he's defending 3 of those: the WBC, WBO, and WBA. Whatever 3-letter, whatever 3-letter organization. So he can be the BBC, the ITV, the WWE, the WWF, the NWA, the BSB. And given it's COVID, he can probably be the WHO as well, the WHO champion. Who knows? But he's defending all them things, I think. So he's obviously got a lot of belts. Known for obviously his footwork, his switching of stances, finding those gaps, and you know, he can make you look very stupid. And Teofimo Lopez, how do you think he's going to go? Do you think
Yeah, he's got every chance, hasn't he? He is the number 2 guy, and he's really impressive. He's only young. He's 23. So a lot. I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't agree, but in terms of stats itself, he's less experienced. But I think he's been in there. He's been around the amateur ranks. You know, he's got a strong boxing IQ. I'm not, when you start looking at these fights, and I'm not one for looking at, you know, the stats and all that kind of stuff. I like the story around it. Same with UFC and MMA. I like the story around the build up. And when you've been digging into this one, and when you're watching what's going on and how the fight was kind of made, it really seems like Lomachenko doesn't like this kid. He's got a, I think Teofimo Lopez, and more namely his dad, has really, like, you know, picked a point with Lomachenko, and he's got a bit of a bee in his bonnet about it. Lopez himself, you know, he's got powerful hands, high boxing IQ. But it's a big ask. It's a big ask for anyone, especially
at 23.
To come in and compete. On one hand, though, it might play into Teofimo's hands. He's got nothing to lose, really. He can go in there completely relaxed. He can fight his fight for as long as Lomachenko lets him do so. And if he loses, you're losing to the best in the world. You're losing to the pound for pound best fighter on the planet.
You'll fight him again.
You can fight him again, but you'll also bring yourself back up, and you might not win these belts now, but there'll be time later on. You know, Lomachenko might not be around for that much longer. He's probably got, I don't know, 2-3 years left in his tank. There's other big, exciting challenges out there for Lopez. It's a feather in his cap to have fought Lomachenko now, you know, at his peak. He's not waited till he's on his peak now. He's fighting him now when he is the best.
I agree.
That's why I'm so attracted to this matchup, because that never happens. It very, very rarely happens in boxing, and that's why, you know, I'm kind of rooting for Lopez in this one. Not so much because I want to see Lomachenko lose, and you know, it's highly unlikely that he will, but I love the fact that he stepped up and taken this fight now, and you know, he's played it perfectly. He's obviously got under Lomachenko's skin, because there's no, if this really happens, there's a big risk reward kind of this disparity there for Lomachenko. So. I actually can't wait for it. I'm really looking forward to the fight. Have you any little predictions for it? Have you watched some of the build up? I
watched a bit of the build up, and I'm I agree with everything that you say with Lopez. I love the confidence of the kid. The fact that he's putting his IBF lightweight title on the line also at young age of 23, knowing he's against the best on the planet, and he inserted that I don't want a rematch clause. There's no rematch clause into the belt, which is kind of a bit of a sham as well in the whole boxing game. So I really like the confidence. But the story for me that I really like is, again, the fact that they've both been trained by the fathers as well. There's an element there, but from watching the Top Rank ESPN special on YouTube, I found that it was quite emotional, where Lopez was crying about his father kind of not being a father and being all too boxing You know, and I think for me, I feel as though he would give anything in the world. But you know, he could win every boxing belt on the planet, and yet he probably still doesn't feel the love from his father. That, you know, those belts can never replace what he's kind of chasing for, that chasing the dragon of his father's acceptance and love, which is kind of like a sad part to it, really. And Lopez's dad strikes me as that dad who, you know, if you take it to football or something like that, is the young kid and he's living through his kid. He's giving the referee. He's that soccer mum or dad that's just living on the touchline for the son. And but it's become too far, because it's not as if he doesn't want to do it, because he's he's good at what he does. But I just find it an interesting dynamic. And you mentioned prediction. I've actually done a prediction. I've actually put money on. I've actually put a bet on a draw. At 23-1.
Unreal.
Two top boxers, close fight. I think it'll go the difference. And given that it's a big fight, then I think if it's close, the boxing judges will rig this one and make it a draw for a second big money fight. We've seen it with Fury and Wilder one, and we've seen it with Canelo and Golovkin one. So I think that'll go the same way.
Happy days. I think you've yeah, I mean, I'll give a shout out to Adam Katzer of the Fight Disciples. He caught my attention with his bet. He thought they'd win 6 rounds apiece, but Lopez would get the nod because he'll knock Lomachenko at some point.
114, 113, I think he said.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was very interested in that, and, I might have a few dollars on it. I think in reality, if I was going to put a bet on just what I'd seen in the build-up, I think I will still be backing Lomachenko to win on points. The reason being, I think I've got a feeling that Lopez might be a little bit emotional. I think he might come out quite fast. Yeah. There was that weird build up there with his dad in the Top Rank. The documentary they did beforehand, and it, like you said, it was evident that there was a lot of emotion around his father there, and it's a lot to carry into any kind of fight or contest. To be, you want to just be focusing on the fight itself and yourself, whereas I feel like he was carrying a lot of weight. Yeah. I think he might come out quite fast, win a few rounds, but then I think he won't have any answers. Once Lomachenko figures him out, I think he'll start to lose rounds, and when he starts to lose rounds, he'll start to lose his head a little bit. So I'm gonna go Lomachenko with a point decision. Yeah,
that's fair enough.
Yeah. So that's a little boxing. That was our first foray into boxing.
And what's happening? Get us into our world, Matt. What's happening? What's next?
Well, we've got a UFC Fight Island card this weekend, but I think first we should touch on last weekend's card. It was another one of those cards where on paper you're a bit like, whatever. Okay. But we're in lockdown here in Melbourne, so Sunday we're watching it because there's nothing.
Exactly.
And it was another unbelievable card. Like the UFC, Dana White, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, everyone just needs to take the hat off to them. And all sports organizations around the world need to look at them right now and look what they're doing, because they are delivering week in, week out. Every card is unbelievable. What were the standouts for you? I mean, I've got a few, but I'll come to you first. What did you really enjoy about this card?
Yeah, a lot. I enjoyed a lot of it. But one thing I want to just pick up on is you mentioned the UFC and Dana White, how well they've run through COVID. The only one thing missing about the UFC is they should make every fight pay-per-view and charge £15, I think. Because I think that's what they should do. What do you reckon?
I think everyone would buy it.
Yeah, right. So anyway, standouts. I don't think we can. We'll go straight to the prelims. There's 3 guys on the prelims. Tom Breeze, from I reckon he's the best looking guy to come out of Birmingham. I reckon. All right, mate, Tom Breeze. So I think he's got a great rig, but it's probably the best performance that we've seen of Tom Breeze. Good headspace, confident in his ability, and I'm really looking forward to him getting going again. What do you think of Breeze?
Yeah, like you said, you've touched on it there. His mentality is the huge thing for him. Yeah, you look at him; he's an Adonis. He's ridiculous. Yeah. I couldn't believe when I read afterwards that he used to make welterweight. Yeah, how he made 170 pounds, I've no idea. But he came into this. There was always questions about his mentality. The last time he fought in the UFC, he just seemed to wilt. and everyone knows he's got the skills, he's got the physique, he's got the the physical fitness to compete. I just never managed to turn it on. I wonder how much it played into his advantage that he was on Fight Island for 2 weeks, wasn't he? He was supposed to fight the week before, and his fight fell off. And maybe he had a bit of extra time, just to get his head around it.
And no crowd, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe all that's played into his success there. But whatever happened, I hope that guy keeps turning up because he's dangerous, and he can put a bit of a run together. If he's matched up well, I'm keen to see him again.
Absolutely. And another standout on the prelim was Chris Darkhouse, who I think a knockout after like 45 seconds, heavyweight, which was pretty impressive. But everyone's talking prelims, and I think we've got to mention Joaquin Buckley. I mean, a spinning head kick that spun around the world in every social media video, everywhere. He will be forever a UFC highlight reel, forever. And it's very much the thing I was looking for, like I was saying last week, from Edson Barbosa. But it was Joaquin Buckley that gave me my highlight reel finish. So, I was...
It was unreal. I don't think we saw that one coming, and I was... I was almost thinking
his opponent didn't, for sure.
I was quite high on that Kasanganay, the guy who was fighting. He's really dangerous, and I've seen him a few times recently, and I really rated him. But when you get hit with something like that, what can you do about it? Like you said, you don't see that one coming. I'm not sure what Buckley said about it afterwards, but I'm sure he hadn't planned on doing this. It's not something you can particularly train for, because who are you going to get? What sparring partners are going to stand there while you do that to them? It broke all sorts of records, didn't it, in terms of the social media retweets and likes and YouTube clips or whatever they used to measure this stuff, because it was just unbelievable. And that's the thing that, like, the UFC are just capitalize on it right now, and that type of thing when there's not a lot else going on, that goes around the world, and it really brings the rest of the sport. Like Dana White's he was just seeing dollar signs spin around his eyes, wasn't he, when that happens? Because it just brings eyes to the sport, and it shows what amazing athletes these guys are.
And
interesting they can make the fights.
And time again, since we've started this podcast, we've been saying it's Fight Island, stay ready, stay ready, take fights, and we've seen with Joaquin Buckley, he's become a star overnight. Suddenly, his next fight, everyone will be tuning in, and now all eyes are on him. COVID's happened. He's in Fight Island. Suddenly, it's grabbed attention. Not just UFC, but every casual out there of boxing, of anything. They go, "Wow, look at this!"
All over ESPN, all over all the different news outlets. So they wouldn't normally touch the sport. You're getting eyes on it, and I think you're right. It's about staying ready. I think he's being turned around already, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's already on the UFC 255 card, which I think is sometime in end of November, or beginning of December, one of the two.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that is really important that people have got to remember here, is that the UFC rewards you for doing things like this. If you go out there and you do something spectacular, you try something, you're excited, win or lose, they'll turn you around and they'll give you another fight.
Yeah.
What they don't want is people who are umming and ahhing over whether they want to fight or turning down opponents. They don't reward that.
Trying to handpick them.
Yeah. They reward people who will just turn up and be like, I want to fight. And then you do something like that, and they'll be like, do you want to fight again? Yeah, absolutely. And every time he does it, he's getting paid. Yeah. He's getting paid. We're being entertained. It's happy days. And the model they've got right now is unbelievable. And just the level of skill that these guys. He's not even. I don't even think he's ranked. Is he? He's not in the top 10, top 15.
No.
But he's an incredible athlete.
Was it his debut? Or how did he come through? Contender series?
I think he made his debut probably during this COVID period.
Yeah.
It might have even been on those the early kind of Jacksonville or the Apex cards.
Right.
He's not been in the UFC long, but performances like that, you'll be ranked before you know it. You'll be getting big names, big money. So good luck to him. Keep it up. He'll turn around again end of November, beginning of December. Probably see him again early next year. I'm excited to watch him if he can do that to Kasanganay. No, the future's wherever he wants it to be.
And looking from the main card of last week, anyone catch your eye, Matt? Certainly, maybe in the heavyweight division. Is there anyone you can think of? Or
our boy Tom Aspinall did it again, didn't he? And I think we called it. Not that we like to brag about these things, but called the first round knockout just destruction, wasn't it? He's very, very good, and he's He's got power in those hands. He was fighting a guy that was making his debut. Obviously, it was a last-minute opponent change, wasn't it? He fought a French guy, Alan Baudot.
Baudot, yeah.
And I think, I don't know how long it lasted. It probably lasted a minute or two, tops.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I did laugh afterwards because he was avoiding. He was a bit critical of himself, wasn't he? He was avoiding those spinning back fists. Decided to take him down, which again people weren't expecting, I suppose, because he's got those explosive hands. Took him down and lay on that Baudot, and I would say he gave up very easily. He didn't take much damage, but that showed the intensity that Tom Aspinall has. The pressure he was able to put on him there straight away. That Baudot just didn't want to be there, did it? So yeah, again, I'm very impressed with Tom Aspinall. It's a slow and steady climb. He did again. He's smart. He had clever call outs at the end of the fight. Spivak again, but he complimented that Chris Darker, so you were just there as well. So these are people on his level. He's not steamrolling people and then calling for someone in the top 10.
Yeah, shit or something.
Yeah, and people do that, and you cringe, don't you? We're forever texting each other, berating people who waste the moment on the mic. They have a good performance. Dan Hardy puts the microphone in front of the face, and they waste it with a ridiculous, not going to happen call out.
Yeah,
I was impressed with Aspinall because he called out 2 people there, and they weren't even like aggressive call outs. He was just saying people he would like to fight, and more from a respect point of view. He knows he's young. He's 27. He's got a lot. He's got 10 years in this division yet, and he can slowly climb. And it's the same thing we were just saying about Joaquin Buckley. He's just turning around. He's not took any damage. I don't think he's took a significant punch in his UFC career so far.
No.
And he obviously wants to be tested more, but this means he can just turn around quick. We'll probably see him fight again before the end of the year, early next year. We'll see him back in there, and he'll slowly build. So yeah, incredible. What did you make of his performance? Have I missed anything?
Didn't break a sweat, did he? Really did not break a sweat. And if you ain't on the train, then all aboard, because it's leaving the station. Because we said it last week, all the makings of a UFC heavyweight champion, and he's well within that journey. Early days in terms of the championship, but like we said last week, he's got all the ingredients. And Tom, we hope he comes to Melbourne. We would love to see him live in a Melbourne card, and after his victory, me and Matt will personally show you around town. We'll show you the best pies, peas and gravy in town with a beer. And and we'd love to meet you and say job well done.
Happy days. Let's get him out to Melbourne ASAP.
That's it.
And then I guess that brings us to some of the main events. Was there anything else on the main card that
you're interested? I mean, we've got to mention the main event, Sandhagen. Great way to bounce back. That is the way you bounce back from your last fight against Aljo, who was a tough loss in a big occasion. Spinning heel kick TKO. In very impressive performance. He looked really sharp against Marlon Moraes. No easy no easy opponent. And the thing for me, the way that he finished, I know people have been saying about early stoppage or whatever, but the whole spinning heel kick and finishing Moraes like he did, it's probably not being talked about because Joaquin Buckley nicked all his thunder. I think if that's on a separate card, you're seeing more of Sandhagen this week and that finish. And it's kind of, this kid, Joaquin Buckley's overshadowed the main event in a way.
He's been diddled out of a bonus there because that's a bonus and he's getting 50 Gs. He's taking it home. It's just very unfortunate that Joaquin Buckley did one that was just slightly more impressive. But yeah, I'm going to take my hat off to him. I massively underestimated Sandhagen. If you watched last week's podcast, I was quite high on Moraes. I thought his power, his pressure would tell early doors. But no, Sandhagen looked great. He's obviously turned himself around from that Aljo loss and from a few like stagnant performances coming up. But he's shown that he's good all around. His movement is very unorthodox. He's obviously got the power as well to put people away. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again. And again, he didn't take much damage either, so you'd think he might be able to turn him around fairly quickly. One thing I will say about him as well, we were just saying about rocking the mic when you get the opportunity. He did as well. He's obviously put himself in line for the next shot of the title. But he knows that might be a little while, depending on when and how that fight goes. He also mentioned TJ Dillashaw, which I thought was absolutely genius.
Yeah.
Dillashaw's back off his EPO ban in January at some point, late January. Right. And he's going to come back in with a top opponent, isn't he? You know, he was a champ before he positive. And all eyes will be on him. Smart. So if you're Sandhagen and you're wanting to prove that you're the best, and you're wanting to prove that you're worthy of title shots, you're wanting a big, potentially pay-per-view, at least co-main event style fight, TJ Dillashaw's a great call out.
I agree. I think that was fantastic call out. Makes sense. Everyone will tune in. Dillashaw, Sandhagen. Perfect. Wait till Jan and Sterling do their thing, and perfect. And, you know, mid next year, I don't think any UFC fan still believes that Henry Cejudo's done. So and suddenly into that division, whether Cejudo fights a Volkanovski or whatever, but suddenly that division, there's a lot of good contenders there. Garbrandt's kind of floating as well. I know he should have been against Figueiredo. So yeah, that division it's heating up. It's heating up a lot.
It's another one of those divisions that you think the belt might start to move around a little bit. Yeah. You know, you've gone through we went through a period really, probably quite recently, where the belts in a lot of divisions were quite stagnant, you know, with a dominant champion. It's happened now with light heavyweight, with John Jones moving on. That belt's going to start moving around. Yeah. You might well see it here. I think we'll know a little bit more how dominant Petr Yan's going to be once he's fought Sterling. Yeah. But I think that we might well see this belt moving around a little bit. And they've made that fight now. I believe that's on is it the 12th of December card? Yan Sterling. Yeah. So that's another one to look forward to in that division. Happy days. Yeah. So I guess to finish, we'll have a look on this weekend. So we've got another Fight Island. This is the second to last card on this kind of version of Fight Island, if you want. Yeah. It's another good card. It's another one that I'm really looking forward to. Even the prelims, you know, there's a lot of unknown names, or not unknown. There's a lot of people who are relatively new to the UFC, you know, not big names fighting on this card, but that I think will be there and make quite a big impression. Yeah. I'll throw it to you. Who jumped out to you on the prelims?
Jamie Mullarkey is a name that we both know very well. We mentioned this guy probably 2 weeks ago now, because we spoke about his opponent at the time. The reason we mentioned Jamie Mullarkey is it was an absolute barnstormer of a fight. It was really good fight, really good scrap. Both me and Matt saw it live in Melbourne. He's an Australian fighter. I think he was born in New South Wales. He lost a close decision to Brad Riddell in Melbourne. And as I say, it was top performance, and I think he'll bounce back with a win here. And I think if that Jamie Mullarkey shows up, then I think he'll get the win.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It was an incredible fight. That again, they were both at the time when we watched them in Melbourne. They were both unknown to us. Yeah. Since then, Brad Riddell's gone on and proved himself. You know, he's making his way up the rankings in that 155-pound division. And Mullarkey took him all the way. He took a lot of damage. He looked like he'd been in and he had. But it shows the toughness he has, and he's fighting a French guy, I think.
Faris Siam or something. Yeah,
but yeah, he's fighting him. So all I can say to that guy is he knows he's in for a tough night. You know, he'll have a job putting Jamie Mullarkey away. So I've got my fingers crossed for him. We haven't seen loads of him. It's hard to break him down because he's only had that one fight in the UFC. But I'm looking forward to watching him, and I'm confident it'll be a good performance from him.
Yeah, I'll probably say Mullarkey by decision. I'll say.
Yeah, he'll take it the distance, I think. Yeah. The other one that stood out for me on the prelims was the Polish newcomer. He's making his UFC debut. Yeah. Mateusz Gamrot, how we say his name. Yeah. 17-0, won no contest, but 17-0. He was a multi-weight world champ, I believe, in KSW. Yeah. It shows what a difference it makes when you've got a Polish champ, and then all of a sudden it opens the door, doesn't it? So you've had Joanna, now you've got Jan Blachowicz, who's a champ, and suddenly that door opens to that kind of area of the world, and he's got his chance. Now he's making his UFC debut. And I haven't seen him, but I've heard amazing things about him. Dan Hardy was speaking earlier this week on his Full Reptile podcast, and he was full of praise for him. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. Have you got any more insight? Have you seen much more of him?
Yeah, no, you've hit all the points there, really. I'll say coming in, there's a lot of talk about this guy. So I'm really keen to see him. I'll say, like you said, double champ. He's very well-rounded in his wins as well. So these 17, it's something like eight submissions, 6 KOs, or 6 decisions and 4 KOs, or whatever it is. He's very well-rounded, so it'll get you from anywhere. But a lot of people talk about how good how great he is on the mat as well.
Right.
It really sort of good mover. I think in a recent grappling event, he even sort of sprawled with Gary Tonin as well, who's one of the best. So he's obviously held his own in those types of competitions as well. So yeah, I think they fed this Kutaladze to Gamrot. I think
his names. I was avoiding it.
Kutaladze, I'll say. So yeah, I think they fed him to this Gamrot and see how he goes. And I think I'm going to go Gamrot via submission.
Right. Well, they're both making the debut, aren't they? I think.
Yeah.
The fella, I'm not going to try and say his name.
Yeah.
It's his debut as well. He's a Georgian fighter. And this is what the beauty of what the UFC do. They've thrown them both in there. They're obviously, I would say, like, I agree with you. I think the public eye on this, on Gamrot, they've given him this Georgian guy as an opportunity. But the Georgian guy isn't going to take this lightly, This is his chance as well. It's his UFC debut. So again, I think you're in for a cracking fight. It'll be interesting to see if there are levels between them and if he has been truly fed. But they've both got something to prove here, They both want to prove that they belong in the UFC. So again, prelim fight, incredible matchmaking. I think we're going to be in for a barnstormer there.
Sounds like a Pokemon, doesn't it, Gamrot? Gamrot is ready to fight.
Yeah.
Anyway, excellent.
Moving on to the main card, another one, another Melbourne local as well, and someone we've been lucky to see fight before. Jimmy Crute is back on this card. He's turned around again fairly quickly. He fought on the Auckland card, didn't he? Earlier this year, and suffered his first defeat. Am I right in saying? Was that on the Auckland card?
No, I think it was a fight before. I think the New Zealand one, he won by submission. I think it was I think he got the performance of the night. He bounced back. He bounced back from the loss that you're talking about. And I think he got a submission victory.
Coming off a win in Auckland early in the year. Yeah, perfect. But I really like him. He's got powerful hands, but he's also, like you say, he's dangerous on the ground, isn't he? He's got quite a few wins by submission in the UFC already. And he's being thrown a bit of a test here. What do you make of his opponent?
Bukauskas is an interesting one. As I say, I think we only saw him maybe back in July, I think it was.
It might have been the first Fight Island card,
Yeah, I think it was. Bukauskas, where is he from again? Latvia, maybe?
Lithuania. But you wouldn't think so if he opens his mouth.
Yeah. But he speaks like a Cockney, but...
he speaks.
Yeah. But I was actually fairly impressed with Bukauskas when he made his debut in July. It was a decent performance, but it won't be talked about, I don't think, that much, because the talking point was the end of round 1. He elbowed his opponent, and his opponent was obviously down, a bit dazed or what have you. And then the bell went, and then one of his cornermen came into the cage. The door opened as he was sat there, and basically fell out of the cage. And the rules state, if you fall out the cage, it's over. Yeah. So so quite unusual circumstances. But do you remember that playing out?
Yeah, I remember watching it. Yeah, definitely the first Fight Island card. It was a bit mad, wasn't it? Because it's almost a shame, because you don't quite know. I don't like you say. I don't think Bukauskas is getting the credit possibly he deserves.
Yeah.
Because we're not quite sure whether this guy was actually unable to continue the fight.
Yeah.
Or if he literally just didn't know the gate was opening and fell out.
Yeah.
I don't know. He did look impressive. He dominated that first round, and he landed some heavy elbows right at the end. Right on the head.
Yeah.
Heavy elbows, did some damage. The guy was clearly, in a bit of strife.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we'll never know now if he'd have made it back to his stool or not. Or made it out for the second round. But the Bukauskas is a dangerous. Again, he's another up and coming prospect. The way I looked at it, I think he's a bit like Jimmy Crute was about a year ago. He's in that same vein. He's undefeated there. He's got a lot to prove. He's going to climb his rankings. And I think Jimmy Crute's been put there as a bit of a test for him to see, if he's the real deal. Jimmy Crute's going to want to kick on. So I think we're in for another incredible fight with this one. They both got everything to prove.
And he's from Bendigo as well, I believe, Jimmy Crew.
He's
a Bendigo boy. So sorry, Chalks, if you're listening, but he is the best athlete to come out of Bendigo and the best looking. So sorry, mate, but you are second behind Jimmy. Just
it'll be interesting to see if he says anything. He won't say it before, but post fight about how his training camp's gone. Like we've been in lockdown for most of this.
Yeah.
We've been in a strong lockdown for 100 days straight now. How that affects the training camp, the sparring partners he's able to get into, the bubble he has to train in.
I know.
I'm sure it's not been ideal, and I don't think he'll make any excuses about it because it doesn't do you any good.
And he can't train at home because he lives in a van. He lives in his car. Jimmy Crew. It's like Jessica Rose Clark.
Yeah,
he does the same thing.
An RV type thing.
He does the same thing. I don't even think it's an RV. Just because I'm sick of paying bills, so I just.
His car.
So he can't even. You can't really do much in your car, so he can't train at home. So
right, yeah, Christ, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it will be interesting after the fight because I'm sure that will play some part in, and if he gets the win, you take your hat off to him that he's made it work. If he doesn't win, I'd be interested to see what he says about how difficult that's been. Because I'm sure it's a question that the journalist will ask him. So, but yeah, I mean, to sum up. It's going to be an incredible fight. I think we know what to expect with Jimmy Crew. We know he's dangerous on the ground, and I'm sure that's where we'll like this fight to take place.
Yeah.
Bukauskas again is a suitable opponent, and he's going to bring his A game. He's got everything to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Co-main time: Andrade versus Chookagian. Matt, how do you see it playing out?
Another good fight. When I was looking at this last night, it took me a minute to work out what Andrade had done because I was like, this isn't her weight class. Has she gone up or has she gone down? And I was trying to figure out, who she'd fought last. Andrade has gone up a weight. I'm right, yeah? She's gone up
a weight, yeah.
Both of these girls in this fight are coming off back-to-back, tough matchups. Andrade's fought Rose Namajunas, followed by Weili Zhang, followed by Rose Namajunas again.
Yeah.
And Chookagian's fought the Shevchenko sisters back to back.
Yes.
Both of these, that you think they'd want, just give me someone, just give me a fight, let me get a win under my belt or whatever. But they're both, in-form fighters, top of the division. I think Chookagian's still kind of number one contender in this division.
She is.
And she looked incredible. Obviously, she held her own against Valentina Shevchenko, but Valentina's Valentina. She looked incredible against her sister, Antonia. I was really, really impressed with her in that fight. So but again, you're dealing with another kettle of fish, I think, with Andrade coming up.
Yeah, and it's a good job. I think it's a really good job that Chookagian called the fight for Andrade because Andrei Shevchenko, AC Milan legend, was shitting himself. I bet he thought he was next in line. But there you go. But no, don't worry, Andre. It is Jessica.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Coming out with
yeah.
Like Chookagian, brilliant.
But yeah, no, it's a very interesting fight. I think it's a fight that makes sense as well because, as you say, Andrade has been in murky waters as well, given the fact it's she fought Rose, and then it was Zhang Weili.
She beat Rose in the first.
Beat Rose.
Yeah. Head knocked her out. Yeah.
Yeah, for the belt, I think.
Yeah.
Lost to Zhang Weili, and then got beat to Rose as well. So it's kind of the opposite to the famous phrase, but Zhang was the thorn between the two roses, huh?
Fucking hell.
Something like that. But
that's very good. That's very good. You thought that one through.
Yeah, but no, I think it's going to be a really good fight. It's a fight that makes sense. You can understand why Andrade wants to go up, and it's kind of a new fight for her. She's obviously fighting the two best in that division. So you know what, go up, test yourself against a contender in that division. And the way Andrade is, doesn't back down for a fight. She's always ready to go. And I'm actually going to say Andrade on this one.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. And I wonder what prompted the move. I don't know if it's the UFC who are looking for another challenge for Valentina. Valentina's kind of cleared out that division.
Maybe.
They need somebody else. And I'm wondering if they've got hold of Andrade, who's probably got to a point where she's not going to get a title shot.
Gone as far as she can go.
Yeah, she's done as much as she can in the division for a while anyway. you know, you might see Joanna coming back as well. So she's in the queue. Andrade's dropped down a little bit, but is capable. You know, she gave Rose a really good contest. So she's capable. And I'm wondering if they're just looking for another opponent to give to Valentina, especially with Nunes. You know, he's fighting up away. It's going to take her a little while to come down, or Valentina's going to have to go back up. And we've seen that before. So yeah, freshening up. I think it's a good matchup. And if she can get through Chikagan, who's the number one contender, you're staring down the barrel of a title shot in a higher weight class. So I agree. I think she'll take this opportunity with both hands.
Yeah. By decision, I think.
By decision. Okay. Yeah. Can't argue with you there. I think that's a sensible pick.
Yeah.
Main event. We've been waiting for this one for what, 2 years? Maybe
2 years.
Over 2 years. It's been on and off, and COVID happened, and this happened, and you know, and it's a contest that we haven't seen Brian Ortega since he fought Max
2 years.
Holloway, have we?
Yeah.
That's
2 years.
Or just over 2 years ago. I think I've got a feeling we watched that fight together, but Brian Ortega took a pacing in that fight, didn't he? And he proved to everyone that he's almost too tough for his own good a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was probably smart. I think he went away after that fight and he took the time off. He took time to heal. It sounds like he's done a lot of work behind the scenes with his coaching staff. You know,
I think he changed it. I think he changed some of his team as well. I think he changed a lot of them.
I think he's almost comprehensively different aside from Henna Gracie. I think that's obviously that's his fault, isn't it? I think he's kept him.
He got COVID.
Yeah.
Up in his corner.
Now not with him, is he? Yeah. So I think he's been away, and it makes it interesting because I think we're gonna potentially see a whole new Brian Ortega, or a fresh, refined skills, different approach. Not sure what to expect with him. What we do know is that he's a demon on the ground, and that's where he's probably gonna want this fight to take place. But Korean Zombie, you know, he was away from the sport for almost 4 years. Korean
military
service. And again, he's come back and looked really impressive. How do you think this fight's going to play out? Are you looking forward to it as much as I am?
I'm looking forward to it, and I've been all week. I've been having a back and forth as to who's going to win, and I really can't picture just how the fight's going to go. But what I will say is, I used to be a really big Brian Ortega fan. I thought, really nice guy. You know, it just looks, he's got, don't say the locks or anything, but he's just this massive long hair. He's kind of a bit of an anomaly, really. He doesn't look like a fighter. You know, you could see him in the corner of the bar, and you wouldn't realise that he could batter every single one in there. He's kind of a bit unassuming in a way. Yeah. So I was really big on Brian Ortega. Fought Max, I thought, he's got a lot of heart. But obviously there was holes in that stand-up game there. He got hit with I think it was 100 odd strikes after the first round or second. It was whatever it was. So maybe a towel should have been thrown in or whatever. I know it was a doctor's stoppage. But then since then I thought, showing a bit of heart and such thing. Then we've not seen him for ages. And then I don't know what UFC event it was, but then I didn't like the fact that Korean Zombie was in attendance with his Korean pop star Jay Park, and Brian Ortega was in attendance. Brian Ortega then waited for Korean Zombie to leave his mate by his side, and Korean Zombie went to the toilet. Ortega thought that would be the good opportunity to hit to Jay Park and slap him or something like that. And since then, I'm like, what? He has apologised since, and I don't know why he did that, but it just seems so unlike Ortega. So there's bad blood. There's a lot of bad blood in this. What I will predict is I've got a feeling, well, for me, he has to improve the stand-up game. Yes, he's great on the floor, but so is Zombie. Zombie's won 8 submissions. He is no joke. And I think it'll be another stand-up battle. And I think Korean Zombie will take it if Ortega's not improved the stand-up, because Korean Zombie, I think, is very much like Max. He will not stop coming forward, hence the name Zombie. He will take the damage and keep walking forward. And if he lights up Ortega's face like Max did, then I think it'll be a Korean Zombie TKO in the 4th.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? You're absolutely right that Zombie's going to put that pressure on. That's his game. And I think the problem with Brian Ortega is he was too okay with being hit.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with other people as well. We've seen it with Justin Gaethje, and he had to adapt his game.
Yeah.
Because once you get to the top level, you might be able to get through the rankings, getting hit a bit, and it's not taking too much damage. Once you get to the top guys, the top 5, they've got power and they're more efficient with the strikes. if you're getting hit that often, it's not going to end well for you. You're gonna take some serious damage, or they're going to knock you out. They're going to cut you up. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Zombie's going to come forward. He's going to put that pressure on him, and he's going to pick his shots as well. I don't think he'll be reckless in what he throws. I think he'll pick his shots and try and really hurt Ortega, because like you said, there is bad blood there, and everything he throws in this fight is going to have bad intentions behind it.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Yeah, it's interesting because we don't know what Brian Ortega's been doing in this season. You would have thought he's been refining his boxing skills, refining his stand-up skills. But I still think if you're Brian Ortega coming into this fight, you know that the biggest advantage you hold is getting this to the ground. Yeah. I wonder if Ortega's going to chop at that lead leg. I think you'll see Zombie coming forward. He puts a lot of pressure on that front leg. I think you'll see Ortega chop at that front leg, look for a takedown, try and stop Zombie's forward pressure.
Yeah.
And try and get the fight to where he wants it on the ground. The question is, can he do it? Because like you say, Zombie's not more on the ground either. So I agree with you. I think the fight really depends on what Ortega turns up, where if he's improved sufficiently enough to make a difference to Zombie. He's gonna have to do. He's gonna have to pull something out of the bag to finish Zombie. And that's what made this matchup absolutely fantastic, because we really don't know. We really don't know what we're gonna get. But I know it's gonna be awesome.
Absolutely.
That's my 2 cents with that one.
And and that's what a week. We said it at the beginning. What a weekend of sport. And I think the weather's not too great either for us in Melbourne. So best to stay in with beer, with snacks, and watch sport. That's all we can do, right?
Yeah, no, that's you're exactly right. Last weekend in lockdown, with any luck, Dan Andrews will let us out to play next weekend, just in time for UFC 254.
And grand final.
And the grand final. How can I forget? Yeah, and grand final. So last weekend in lockdown, we'll get through it with all these matchups that we've just been discussing. I think just a quick note for everyone as well. If you like what you're seeing, you like what you're hearing, click subscribe. You'll get the updates, and whenever we post something, tell your mates about it as well. If they're interested in fight sports, or they're interested in the Premier League or the AFL, whatever it is, we talk about a few different things that we're into. Share it with your mates, give us a like, and thank you for listening. We really do appreciate it, and we'll see you again next week.